Good evening, everyone. I'm back. Okay, so if you joined me this morning, I tried to. There we go. I didn't. I use StreamYard to film live on multiple platforms. This morning was the first time I did it for this channel because I do it for the Melon Initiative. But what I forgot was you have to go to Instagram. You have to have your Instagram open, copy the stream key, copy paste into StreamYard, then come back and hit go live, which I didn't do this morning. So you didn't see that, which was me and Halima on the steps of the Capitol after we took a group photo. And so now I'm just checking to see if you can see me live on Instagram. If you can, let me know in the comments. I had those questions this morning that I didn't get to finish, and so I'm back to finish those up really quickly. And I'm still waiting to see if you can see me. 1 second. Okay. I don't know why the Instagram one doesn't work so well. I hit go live. Well, we'll have to figure that one out. Okay, so let's finish her questions. And I want you to let me know in the comments what your response would be to these questions. And so yeah, this is great. What's the behind the scenes moment that no one sees but makes all the difference? Look, it's being up late at night, still working on your business. I left Houston yesterday, right after work, dropped the dog off, hopped on a plane, got here, woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. We had to meet at 7:30. I was talking to you guys at 7:30. We had a full day at the Capitol, lobbying for our patients, which I'll talk more about in detail on my YouTube channel over the weekend. And here I am, finishing up some content, about to hop on a call with another NP entrepreneur who has a great opportunity in the morning. So we're going to hash out that, get her ready for her big pitch. So what's the behind the scenes moment that no one sees that makes all the difference? It's all this work that you're doing in behind the scenes. I always talk to you about batch content, so that allows you to kind of show up and be persistent and consistent, have some semblance of work-life balance. But that can give a false impression. Like the lighting's always great, you look always perfect, you're always prepared, maybe you have a script always going, and that can give you the impression that we have it all together, or that there's something wrong with you and your process, because the way we show up prepared like that, that's not always the case. So sometimes batch content is great, but maybe it can give a false impression sometimes about the realities of what it means to be an entrepreneur, particularly in the early stages, like this particular NP, where you are kind of doing a lot of things on your own until you're able to build a team. So that would be my answer to that. I would love to hear your answer in the comments. Do you ever struggle with burnout, and how do you reset or prevent it? So I don't really deal with burnout anymore. A lot of things are setting boundaries, saying even no to yourself. Really helpful to have a calendar. And this is something that's always evolving. You do one thing for a while, and then if your business grows or you have different responsibilities that come into your life, then you're readjusting all the time. But for right now, I don't get burnt out because the job that I have affords me to have lots of time to work on my business and to continue to study. And so that's one thing that's in place. Even throughout my own professional practice, I only said yes to the things that aligned with the life I want to live. And in nursing in particular, because there's so many opportunities, it's so easy to pick up a shift. We work full-time here, part-time here, PRN there. Whenever they call us, we just do this one. And so it's accessible and it's easy, but that doesn't make it an opportunity, particularly if it prevents you from being able to show up for your business, if it puts you in the seat of always working, never getting a chance to rest and be creative and reflective. So I always say not every opportunity is an opportunity for you if it doesn't get you closer to your goal. And so you have to know what that goal is. So I personally don't get burnt out. I have a spiritual practice. I have things I do to support my mental health, my physical health. I have a support system. I lean on them and listen to them when they feel that I need to not just talk about the business all the time. So sometimes when you hear those kind of things, it can be a little discouraging. You might not feel like you get the support you need. But on the other end of that, I realize I need that. I need other people to remind me about all the other things that are also important in my life. And like I mentioned in my commencement speech last month, if you're a high achiever, you're always reaching for the next goalpost. You're always looking at the next start line. As you cross one finish line, you're already looking at the next starting line. And it's this kind of momentum. Um, it's this momentum. And what I realized is that we're always working because we think as soon as we get there, as soon as we do this, then we can rest, or then we can stop, or then we'll be happier, then we'll be rich, or then we'll be wealthier, than whatever it is that we're striving for. But what I realize is actually there is no end, there's no destination. The journey is the destination. There's no actual point, because every time you get to one level, you're always going to want to get to the next level. So if you haven't seen that commencement speech, I invite you to check it out and let me know what your theory is on the horizon. Let's see. And how do you reset or prevent it? I think I answered that. And having rest and vacations, I take sabbaticals. I'll be taking a sabbatical in August. So those kind of things I put into place, and listening to how other people do it. I follow Jasmine Star. One thing she does is every quarter, and I had a mentor in the past who used to do this too. Every 6 weeks, she would take off 2 weeks. And yeah, she was really consistent about that. Now, in her particular life, I always get to ask people, what made you do that? She lived in Texas. Her husband, who was taking care of his aging parents, lives in Maryland. So they lived apart while he's taking care of them. And so every 6 weeks, she would take 2 weeks off, close the practice, and go spend time with her family. How do you balance being both the provider and the business owner? The calendar, I live by a calendar. I don't keep anything in my head, and I don't trust people who do. It shows me their level of organization and usually where they are in their journey. I have help. I hire people. I pay some people, and some people, like I have Jade Trevino, the Mahogany Dermatology Nurse Intern for the Year, which I talk about all the time for entrepreneurs, because time and capital are limited. And while you need help, there's people who need exposure and access to the things that you have. And to me, that sounds like a beautiful partnership. And my intellectual property is as valuable. And so I share that, and I get the help I need, and she gets the exposure and access to resources and a network that she was looking for. One myth about being in dermatology. I think a lot of the interest in dermatology comes from social media, and a lot of the social media posts are in cosmetics and aesthetics, which are fun and lighthearted. And a lot of us nurses start in taking care of acute chronic conditions that can lead to that burnout. We have limited resources, limited staff support. And so you see something like that where people are dancing, having fun, and we're just attracted to what we're exposed to. Regular medical derm can be also fun and exciting, but making those videos they're not being made as much, and they're not as entertaining. So you don't hear about it, so you're not as attracted to it. And so I think when people see derm, they don't realize how much there is to learn. So that would be one myth, and that the learning curve is steep. Even if you get hired and you're going to be trained on the job, at the end of the day, you still need to come home and be very disciplined and give yourself grace, because there's a lot to learn. Some people have even reported after 12 months of being on the job that they still were feeling that learning curve. And so that's why I say give yourself grace. And then when it comes to cosmetics and people being interested in that, I think the myth to debunk there is also lots to learn, and concerns about ethics, concerns about vanity. And some people, after a while, they get tired of that. So everything that glitters isn't always gold. And even some of the people who, you can go to their page and it looks awesome and wonderful, when you actually sit and talk to them, sometimes, they're like Maya, who I talked about on YouTube, who's maybe really successful, but they haven't been able to break past even, or they look really successful, but they're still struggling in other things that they're trying to do. They worked really hard, but yet they're still not able to get the credibility and visibility that they wanted. So there are still struggles. They just might not be seen on social media. And so that would be another myth I would like to debunk. And then our last question, because I got to hop on a call. If you could give one piece of advice to a nurse or NP thinking about starting their own business, particularly derm related, what would it be? If I give one piece of advice, ask yourself, what is your goal, right? What is it you're trying to do? Like, why are you attracted to entrepreneurship? What does your life look like? Because every time I ask someone this question, they always talk about they want to help the patient or whatever. It takes about 5 minutes to get to the actual goal. Just get to the goal first, right? There's some reason you want to do this. You want flexibility, you want more time, you want more usually it's flexibility and money, right? I always say entrepreneurship allows us to do the things we want to do when we want to do them with the people who we want to do them with. So if you know what that looks like, visualize it in your head, walk it back. And then how do you get there? As opposed to having burnout and just being reactive and just taking up a training, starting a practice without even knowing where you're going. So many people that I talk to don't even know where they're trying to go. They have no exit strategy. That exit strategy, like we talked about this morning, it's either you're not gonna be working on the business at some point, either because you have a team, because life circumstances, maybe you die, maybe you sell it, maybe you scale it, and so you can't be physically in all these different locations. So at some point, what you're doing right now, you won't be doing. So what does that next step look like? And so that is my greatest advice, is to think about what the end goal is, walk yourself back, and make sure you understand your market. Uh, yeah, do more research than what you see on social media. Try to get a network, talk to people, because while you're trying to get into something, somebody's trying to get out of it. Whether it's dermatology, cosmetics, business, marriage, school, nursing, everything you want, someone else is trying to leave. Talk to enough people, get enough data, and then just go back to the people you're here to serve, what problem it is that you can uniquely help them with. That's all I have. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, thank you all for joining me. Have a good night. Oh, don't forget to let us know in the comments how you would respond to this question, particularly the last one. What's one thing you think people should know that they don't know, and it could save them a lot of time and money? Have a good night.